Okay, Tov, today's daf is Daf Samach Vav, the last daf in Nizir. So we went for a four shlemer for Akiva ben Chaya Rochel. Yesterday we mentioned that when we were talking about the graves and if you find the different graves and when you can move them, when you can't. And I mentioned by mistake in the discussion there was a Rav Yeshevov had checked and he found two graves that were known, those he knew about, and then he found a third one and he wanted to make that a Shchunas Kavaros. So Rav Akiva, know that all your toil was for nothing, because the concept of Shchunas Kavaros is only if there were three known graves or three unknown graves. That's a special halacha, not necessarily logical. Michael thought, and somebody else told me afterwards also, maybe because it was different times. So maybe you would think that that's why, because one was from a different time and one was from different times. Maybe that was the reason, but it doesn't seem to have as far as the Gemara is not mentioned. So Rabbi Akiva said you toiled for nothing. And I said this because Rabbi Shapiro apparently bought the spots. In other words, he went to buy it, but I read the Rashi wrong afterwards. I noticed that it's not the Kanumakoma, it's just the Kanumakoma, meaning the concept in general that if a mess is buried in a certain spot, if it was buried with permission, he owns that spot. You can't move him unless he was buried without permission. But if he was buried with permission, somebody died and they said buried, you can't move it later on because Meis Kanuas Makoma, that's what means the Kanu Makoma, that the dead people had effectively purchased or acquired, is better word, they had acquired their spot. I read it as the Kanu Makoma, that Shavu had bought it for them. I just read it wrong and I noticed it right after we finished the Shiur yesterday. So that's just a little correction. Yeah. So today's daf will start from Daf Samach Vav on the fourth line, with the mission with discussing things that are also Raglayim Ladavar, when it's known. We're talking about a case of Azov. Once Azov has had two Re'ios checked, meaning he's had some sort of a gonorrhea commission, and he's had them twice, and they were not attributable to physical factors like jumping or running or carrying or eating the wrong food, but they were spontaneous, then he's Azov. And once he's Azov, once he's a regular Azov for the third time he's seen, again, we talked about, as opposed to women, a man becomes Azov when he had two proper emissions, either the same day or in 2 consecutive days. And then he has to count Zayin Akiyim, he has to count 7 clean days. And if he sees a third time, either on the third day or 3 on the same day or 3 over 2 days, then he has to also bring a carbon at the end of the Zayin Akiyim. So the Mishnah said that once he is a confirmed Zav, meaning he'd seen twice and they were not due to an accident, then the third one is not checked. And the Mishnah said, Ein so onso, once he is a confirmed Zav, then we don't check the third time, whether it was an accident based on something that he ate, or sfeiko, or it's a suffix, and we described at the top of the page, top of this page. Suffix means not a suffix if he saw an emission. He saw an emission. The question is it Shich Vazer? He wasn't sure. He woke up in the morning, was it Shich Vazer, or is a Zav, a gonorrhea? Then we assume the worst. We assume that he's tamei. We assume it's a third one. That's what he says, Sveiko tameim. And then it says, V'shich v'sar tameim sharaglam v'davar. Once he's already seen twice and he's a confirmed Zav, we assume that an emission, if he had an emission afterwards, we assume that it was an emission of Zav. What about his shich v'zera? The Mishnah says, V'shich v'sar tameim. What do you mean a shich v'zera? When it's known that it's shich v'zera. In other words, he had a regular shich v'zera ejaculation, and he says, that's tamei. The Gemara says right away on the fourth line as we start today, Samach Vav, Shifazaro Tameya Lamai. What do you mean Tamei? What do you mean it's Tamei? If you touch it, if somebody touched his Shifazara, came out of him and he touched it, whether it's his wife or anybody touched it, it's Tamei. Well, Migar Shifazara the Torah. How is that different than any other Shifazara? A regular person with Shifazara, if you touch it, it's Tamei. Elazaro Shalza, Elazaro means Shifazaro Shalza Matame Masa. Here's the difference. Regular shechvazer is only tamei, is in metamayu, obviously only tamei for 1 day, but it's metamayu if you touch it. Shechvazer v'zav is metamayu even if you carry it without touching it. You carried it on your back in a container or whatever. Maybe it's metamayu there. Man shamis lo the amar shechvazer shel zav metamei b'masa. Who is the one who says that shechvazer is metamei b'masa? Who says such a thing? Apparently, we can't find it. In other words, the Mishnahs we're assuming now in the Gemara, there is no such concept that Shich Vazer is Matamei B'masa. That's what we're assuming right now. And if that's the case, what's the Mishnah telling me? Shich Vazer is Tamei. Shich Vazer of anybody is Matamei, even a person who's not a Zav. So what do you mean? Once he's a confirmed Zav, Shich Vazer is Matamei. What, for carrying? Who holds such a thing? Man Shamas Shich Vazer Matamei Masa. Who holds such a thing? Ilay Ma'ai Tana. Or maybe I'll find a Tana who holds that way. The Tanya, Rabbi Lezer Omer, Shechva Zera Shel Zav and Mitam Masa. Shechva Zera of a Zav is not Mitame, does not defile any more than Shechva Zera of a regular person. It's not Mitam Masa, it's only B'maga. Rabbi Yeshua Mitam Masa. Rabbi Yeshua says Mitam Masa. So maybe our mission is going according to Rabbi Yeshua. Why does Rabbi Yeshua say it's Mitam Masa? Because if a person's a confirmed Zav, meaning he's had gonorrhea already, gonorrhea commissions, and now he has a regular ejaculation of Shechvas Zera, it's impossible for them to be without, for the gonorrhea commission to come out without some, for the Shechvas Zera to come out without some droplets of Ziva. Since he's already a Zav, it's in his system, so to speak. He's sick with this disease, if you want to call it. And when he has an ejaculation, some Ziva is in there. Maybe that's what Yeshua says. It's impossible to have a regular Shechva Zera ejaculation without having some droplets of Ziva in there. So that's the Rabbi Yeshua, and maybe that's what you mean by our Mishnah. But the Gemara says that doesn't make sense. He doesn't say that Shechva Zera is Matame B'masa. He says the only reason that a confirmed Zav who had Shechva Zera his Shechva Zera is Matame B'masa is because it's impossible for the Shechva Zera to come out without having some droplets in there mixed up of Ziva. So the reason he's Matame B'masa is because of the Ziva droplets that came out, not because of the Shechva Zera. But by itself, it was pure Shechva Zera. Even Rabbi Shua would not say that pure Shechva Zera is Matame B'masa. So again, who would hold such a thing? So the Gemara is going to come out later on that there is such a shita, that there are rabbis who hold that is Matame B'masa, that the Shechva Zera of a Zav is Matame B'masa. But first the Gemara says maybe it means something else. That we don't rely or we don't attribute it to that. What do we mean by that? So Rashi here tells, take a look at the Rashi, the Meforish, Elam Ravada, about 4 or 5 lines into the narrow lines. My high the Shechva Zera, when the Mishnah says that the Shechva Zera confirmed Zav is Matame, Lomer She'ein Tolen Ba, we don't attribute it to Shechva Zera. Once he's already a Tomei Zav, Imra Keri, if he saw Shechva Zera. And he says, V'chazar V'ra, and then he also saw Ziva. Einos Ziva could carry, Kahid Tam Shechva Zav, and a Ra carry, Einam Etam Ziva Kol Meisles. What do we mean by that? The Mishnah in Masechta Zavim says that if a person was a Baal Keri, meaning he had a regular Shechva Zera ejaculation, and even though he already saw one emission of Zav, but he wasn't a confirmed Zav, a person which has one emission of gonorrhea, it's just like Shechva Zera. So after a person saw one sighting or emission of Zav, and then he saw Shechva Zera, he explains, within 24 hours of seeing Keri, he saw the Zav. That's not a second sighting of Zav. It came because of the Keri, somehow in the body, because of the Keri that started the Zav to come out. That caused the Zav to come out. Since he saw it, since he had an emission of Shechva Zera, it doesn't cause it out. Came because of an onus, as we said this yesterday in the Mishnah, that if he saw a of Zav because of some accident, that's not, it only if it comes out spontaneously. So here, when he had an emission of Shechva Zera, and that was followed within 24 hours of Zav, we don't say that it's a of Zav. It came out because of the Shechva Zera, because he had an ejaculation of Shechva Zera that caused the gonorrhea to come out too. Etc. So the point of the Mishnah in Zav is that if you see Keri and then you follow that with a sighting of Zav immediately thereafter within 24 hours, so the rule that Rabbi Yossi says even the whole, it's only for that day, or the Tanakhama says for 24 hours, but that's not a second sighting of Ziva. We don't consider that a Ziva sight. Again, look in Rashi over here in our Daf. The end of Rashi is Haroa Keri Einam Matame B'Ziva Kol Meisleis. If a person sees Keri, that's Matame B'Ziva, meaning since he's not a confirmed Zav, the Mishnah says, if he had Shechva Zera come out, and then he followed that with a sighting of Ziva, that's not Ziva. That's because of the Shechva Zera. So that's what the Mishnah means. So that's what Rav Bar was saying in our Gemara, that normally we attribute a siding of Zav after Shechva Zera to Shechva Zera. Here we don't. That's what he means. Once he's a confirmed, that's what our Mishnah means to say. Our Mishnah says once he's Nizkek Ziva, once he's a confirmed Zav, meaning he had two good sidings of Ziva, and then he saw Shechva Zera. Then afterwards, when he had a third siding of Ziva, we don't attribute it to the Shechva Zera, but we say once he's confirmed, he's confirmed. We don't attribute the next siding of Ziva to the Shechva Zera. The Shechva Zera is not attributed to something by itself, but rather it's because of the Ziva. And here Rashi says, yes, Rashi says that we don't. My height comes Shechva Zera. Tell me, Lomer she'ain tolim ba the la'ach sheniskuli tuma imra keri v'achazal ra Ziva ein osa Ziva kekeri. It's not like keri. In our Mishnah in Zavim we said that if you just see a Shechva Zera and then you follow it with the siding of Ziva, that's like Shechva Zera. No, here we don't say that. Once he's a confirmed Zav, and then he has a Shechva Zera siding, if he has a follow-up with the siding of Ziva, we don't attribute to the Shechva Zera, we attribute it to the Ziva because he's a confirmed Zav already. That's what he means by Misheniskik Ziva, Ein Balkanoso, Onso is fake of Shechva Zera Matame. We don't mean literally that it's Matame. Shechva Zera of anybody is Tameh. It means that the Shechva Zera is not attributed, that a siding of Ziva following the Shechva Zera is not attributable to the Shechva Zera, but rather to the Ziva itself.
And the other opinion says that if you just have a Shechva Zera, there's definitely some carry with it anyway. So it's a Shechva Zera would be Matameh.
No. That's only Shechva Zera that follows a confirmed Zav.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Case. Both times it's the same case.
Right. No. Well, Rabbi Shua says.
They're just reading it.
No. But Rabbi Shua is talking about a case where he's a confirmed Zav. The Mishnah I'm talking about. The Mishnah is talking about where he's not a confirmed Zav. He only saw one siding. The Mishnah here talks about Shechva Zera Shel Zav, who's a Zav already, who's already a Zav. Rabbi says Shechva Zera Zav is not Matam Masr. Rabbi Shua says it is because if he's a confirmed Zav, meaning he's had two good sidings, then there's definitely some Zav in his Shechva Zera. Correct. That's what he's saying. Right, but the point he's not saying that the Shechva Zera is Matame b'masa. It's the Ziva which is Matame b'masa there,
which is in the Shechva Zera.
Right. But the question is Shechva Zaro. Right. So the question is Shechva Zaro of when our Mishnah says he's not saying that what Rabbi Shua is saying, that if he says Shechva Zera, there's probably some Zav in there. He's saying the Shechva Zera itself is Matame. The Gemara doesn't say that reason. No. If let's say enough time passed, maybe a few days passed, he's already in the Zion Akiyim, so then you don't attribute it to it. Understand? You don't attribute it to
it has to be.
It was a clean. He had a clean Shechva Zera, so to speak. That's what the Mishnah says. That if he's a Shechva Zera, a clean Shechva Zera after he's a confirmed Zav, that's Matame. So in what sense is Matame? It's Matame in the sense that a follow-up Zav, a siding of Ziva after the Shechva Zera is not attributable to the Shechva Zera. It's attributable to the Zav. That's what he means. Why is that? Because once he's a confirmed Zav and he's weakened by it, it's like a sickness. I did the Chulsha Hu Chazi. In other words, that if he had, because he's weakened, that's why he saw it. In other words, that when we say over here that we don't attribute it to that. And what it's saying, because once he's a confirmed Zav, we don't attribute it to the Shechva Zera, we attribute it to the Ziva because he's already confirmed Zav. So even if there's no tzchuche droplets of the Zav in the Shechva Zera, but the Zav that he saw following the Shechva Zera of a confirmed Zav, we don't attribute to the Shechva Zera, but rather Zav. So he thought maybe it's because he's already sick. He's got this. Amalei Rava, by the time we learned Gershon Eskayer. A ger was Megayer, and Rashi explains he was already mahul. Let's say a ger was Megayer and he's already circumcised. So all you need is you just need to take out a drop of dove, right? You don't have to do a proper circumcision on him, so he's not weakened. Gershon Eskayer Matame Biyad Ziva. If he has a gonorrheic attack or once or let's say twice, he's retired right away, even though it's not because of a weakened state. He wasn't a Zav before. He wasn't a Zav. So what do you see over here? He's Matame Ziva right away, meaning even though he's strong and it's not a weakened state, he's not sick. And Rashi points out, if he was sick anyway, it wouldn't count for Ziva. Ziva's only if it's spontaneous. If he was sick or one other reasons, he ate or he drank or he jumped around or something like that, if he was sick, then he doesn't count anyway. So the Gershonus Geyer, even though he's strong, the time they have the Ziva. So you see it's not because he's weak. It's simply because those are the rules that once he's a confirmed Zav, and then he had Shikva Zera come out, and he followed that with another sighting of Ziva. We don't attribute it to the Shikva Zera, but to the Ziva. Amalei. So when that Republican wanted to say that, so Rabbi said to him, "What do you mean? Even if he's strong, Amalei? No, just the opposite. If a person accepts upon himself Taryag mitzvahs, there's nothing that makes him weaker than that. That in itself, that burden that you have to time the mitzvahs, that you wake up every day, you got to go learn, you got to put on your tefillin, you got to keep Shabbos, all those things. So there, he is weakened because of that, but it's not a sickness. It's more of it's not a physical sickness. It's a mental burden. So it has nothing to do with, you can't prove anything from Gershonus Geyer that shows that even if you're sick, you're not sick anyway. It's the burden. Ella, but the Gemara then anyway changed this and said, even though we sort of disproved this concept of that a person who has a sighting of Shikva Zera, there must be some Ziva in there, because then it's not the Shikva Zera which is Matamiyim. What is Matam? What do we mean by our Mishnah? Our Mishnah said Shikva Zera is Tameh. If he's a confirms of Shikva Zera is Tameh, doesn't mean literally Tameh. It means that if he had a sighting of Ziva afterwards, we don't attribute it to Shikva Zera, we attribute it to the Ziva. But now the Gemara says, well, we didn't like this other discussion anyway about Rabada Barava. Let's change it, and we'll say anyway, there is Taka Machlokas about Shikva Zera itself of Azov. Is it Matame B'masa or not? Again, Shikva Zera for a regular person is only Matame B'maga. Shikva Zera Azov is it Matame B'masa? Maybe that's what the Mishnah means. He says, that's what the Mishnah means. Even though Rabbi Lezer says Shikva Zera Azov is not Matame B'masa, and Rishua only said it's Matame. Why? Because there's droplets of Ziva in there. Here we have two Tanam who all that no, the Shikva Zera itself, even if it was pure, unadulterated Shikva Zera, wasn't mixed up with anything else, it's still Matam B'masa. Ela Tanoihi. It's Machlotem. The time Shikva Zera shows up Matam B'masa. Kol Meis Meis. Tanakama says that the Shikva Zera of a Zav is Matam Meis Meis, not because there's droplets in there. Even if there's no droplets in there, a few days maybe it passed, and he's a confirmed Zav and he's Shikva Zera, it's Matam B'masa. Yomo, it is Matame, but only that day. So both of these Tanam hold that Shikva Zera of a Zav is Matame B'masa. That's how it's different than Shikva Zera of a regular person. Except that the Tanakama holds it's Matame for 24 hours. Rabbi Yossi says it's Matame only that day. Michael Mifli, what's Machlokas? But Shmuel, the Shmuel Rami, he says one pasuk says Ksiv, it says Kia Ba'ish Asher Lo Yeh Tor Mikalayla. He'll have a night occurrence, so to speak. He's not Torah Mikalayla. Ksiv Lifnos Erev Yerchas Mayim. Towards the evening, he should wash up. Mandar Meis, like the one who says that he's coming for 20 hours, Daik Mi Lifnos Erev. Rashi explains because Lifnos is towards the evening itself. Then when it says Erev again, that's another evening. So it's like two evenings, it's like 24-hour period, indicating a 24-hour period. It doesn't mean literally till the next evening, but it means it's 24 hours, just like one evening to the next evening is 24 hours. So he says it's Matame B'masa for 24 hours because Lifnos itself means Erev. He brings out a pasuk. The Chsivit says Erev and it says Kol Me'emes Shikva Zera. Shikva Zera. He wrote the pasuk. I think where it was in Tanakh. Because there's Matam Shikva Zera. So the Daik Lifnos of the Mash Beis Aravim. Lifnos Chad Erev Mashman of Siv Kifana Hayom. Right, Kifana Hayom because the day is past. We use that lashon right at Neila. Kifana Hayom. The day has gone away. That's towards the evening. And then it says Erev, so it's like two Erevs. You have to have 24 hours. The Idach Daik Mikrolai says the Mikrolai means it's happened at night. So happened at night means you just look at night until one day. One day is all you look at. Mandam Lifnos Erev, Haksiv Mikrolai, only like one night. You only have to have one night, not 2 nights. It normally happens. Normally a person has a sighting at night when he's asleep or while he's in bed. And that's why he calls Mikra Laila, but it really means Erev ad Erev. That's how he learns. So the Tanakhama says Eis Leish. Rabbi Yossi says no Yoma because just look at the words Mikra Laila, and that's the Mashma ad Laila. The Matam B'Masik Kiziv the Hainu Yoma. It's till the night means only that day. So there's a machlokas here. So we actually have 4 different shittas. Rabbi Lezer says that the Shikva Zera Zav is not Matame B'Masa, it's only Matame B'Maga like a regular one. Rav Yeshua says it's matam masa because you must have some droplets in there. The other rabbis, Rav Yossi and the Tanakama of this other brisa, they hold that it's matame the masa, even if you know there's no droplets, so to speak, right? Even if it's a few days later and you know there's no droplets, once he's confirms of the shifra zera of his oven tam masa, and that's what the Pashut Pshat and the Mishnah can mean. When the Mishnah says once he's confirms of niskak laziva ain bodkanoso and onso, whether it was an accident or sleiko, if he's not sure if he had shifra zera or gonorrhea, or even if he knows he had shifra zera, it's matame in the sense it's matame b'masa according to these last two rabbis. Nazar hayashmuel. Besides, we all know that there was Nazir Shimshon, which was mentioned previous in the Masechta. Shmuel was also a Nazir. According to Rav Meir, it's machlokas shenemar. Umora lo yala al rosho. What happened when his mother didn't have children? She was childless, and she promised that if she has a child, mora lo yala rosho. What does mora mean? Mora means fear normally, right? That's with an aleph. Here, mora, he says, means, and he won't have no razor will touch his head. That's how he dash. Never by Shimshon it says umora, but never b'shmuel umora. Mamora b'shmuel, just like by Shimshon nazir means naziris, means that he will not, no blade will touch his head. Af mora ha'amura b'shmuel also nazir. The mora that it talks about by Shmuel is also referring to a nazir. So even though we don't have psukim telling us that Shmuel was a nazir, etc., they wouldn't have a favor like that. Shimshon we know was a nazir. Everybody knows that he was a nazir. Nazir Shimshon is a Nazir forever, right? He never his whole life he can never shave. That's that Nazir that we saw videos at the beginning about. Some Nazir here is also a Nazir Shimshon who can never shave. Remember, a Nazir Olam could shave when the hair gets too long. Then he has to bring his karbanos and be matar himself. But a Nazir Shimshon never shaves. But Shmuel, whether Shmuel was the same kind of Nazir as Shimshon, it's not clear. But he was a Nazir according to Rav Meir. Rav Yossi, v'lo ein mora ela basar adam. Mora means fear, sometimes within a hay, sometimes within aleph, but it means we're talking about fear of man. Rav Meir says that can't be the case. But look, for Nemr it says, Shmuel did have a fear of man, because Shmuel said, how can I go and appoint David to be the king when Shmuel will hear about this? Again, he'll kill me. So it didn't happen. He didn't. When he said this child will never have fear of man. Now, obviously, he did have fear of man. He was afraid of King Shaul. So therefore, it can't mean. Rav Meir says it can't mean fear. It means over here a razor. My nafkamina, if Shmuel was a Nazir or not. I mean, it's a nice thing to tell us. Shimshon, we know what's the difference if Shmuel was a Nazir or not. So one is you could just to understand Tanakh. The Rambam brings down that the difference also is a person says Hareini Kishmuel. Person says Hareini Kishimshon, so he means that's a way of saying a Nazir, right? It's certainly a yad, if not more than that, right? But certainly a yad for a Naziris. But if he's like Shmuel, is he a Nazir? That could be a Nachmin over here. So here you have this machlokas here between Rav Meir and Rav Yossi. The Gemara ends off the Masechet with another machlokas between Rav Meir and Rav Yossi, right? Because otherwise this Gemara really doesn't have to fit in over here. This whole parak or most of the parak doesn't fit in these last halachas we learned. It only brought down because of Rav Lechia Bray. Rav told his son Chia, who's named like Rav's famous uncle, his uncle Chia, which of course is the Aramaic form of Chaim, right? We don't find Chaim in the Gemara, the name Chaim, but Amalei Rav Lechia Bray. He told Chia's son Chatov Ubarach, get a chance to bench. You take the cup. Don't leave it for somebody else to answer. You shouldn't answer. If you have the opportunity to lead the benching, you should take the kos and grab the kos, and you make the bracha. Rav Huna also told Rabba, his son, you should take the chance if you can get a chance to if it's if you have the opportunity to bench over the kos, you should take the opportunity. Don't leave it to somebody else to answer them, but you should do it yourself. Says the Gemara, you're saying that a person who breaks the bracha is greater. But time Rav Yossi Omer, Rav Yossi says, the person who answers Amen is greater than the one who makes the blessing. Rav Meir said, Hashamayim kachu, right? And so Rav Yossi said that maybe it's brought down. It's not really machlokas here between between Rav Nari and Rav Yossi. Rav Nari and Rav Yossi both say this, right? In our Mishnah, we have machlokas between Rav Yossi and Rav Nari. Was Shmuel a Nazir or not? Right? That there in our Mishnah, we said Rav Yossi says that there's no proof that he was a Nazir from Morah because Morah meant fear. Here, Rav Yossi says, God alone, Amen Yosef and Baruch, and Rav Nari brings a proof to him. Amalei Rav Nari, Hashemayim, he swore like, I swore by the heavens, Kachwa said, why? Taida Sharei Gularayim Misgarim, because the regular foot soldiers, they provoke the Muhammad, they start the war, they're the ones who fight. Ugvorim notes him, and then the generals come in, the big shots, the heroes, they come in afterwards and they finish it off, and they're the ones who, after the foot soldiers fight it out in the trenches and kill each other, then the big shots come in and finish it off. In other words, the one who answers Amen at the end, the one who finishes off, it's always better to finish something. You always remember the guy who finishes the job, not the guy who starts it. So, Taka Amen is better. So you see, Amen is better. So why did he say you should try to make the bracha first? So the answer is it's a machlokas. It's machlokas. Rav Yossi and Rav Rai say that Amen is better, but tonight it's machlokas. Tanya, Amen mashma. Whether you make the blessing or you answer Amen, both of them are included in the bracha. But it's better to make the bracha to start the job. You start them off better. That's the opinion of these Tanam. And Rav Nari and Rav Yossi disagree. Right? They say that that the one who answers is greater. Amar Rav Lazar Chanina. This, together with 4 or 5 other masechtas, at least 4 brachas, Yivamas, Grisis, and Tamid, ends off with this famous. Remember, Rav Lazar Chanina Tamid Chamam Shalom Ba'olam. That Tamid Chamam bring peace. They increase the peace in the world. Shenemar B'chol Banach Limudei Hashem V'Rav Shalom B'Noach. All your sons will be learned of God, and there will be much peace among those. Those who learn will bring peace to the world. Of course, the Gemara ends off in brachos with the member that we say every day. Al tika banayach ella bonayach, right? Al tika banayach ella bonayach. So here we brought down this piece. So this I'm quoting the Gemara in brachos now. Al tika banayach ella bonayach. Those who build, meaning build. Shalom Rabbi Yisachar Rabbi Mishal. Yishal Mechel Shalom Sachal Manachah Be'Yom Shabbat Monday Shalom Kevrach Hashem was Yitain Hashem Baruch Shalom, which we're going to say also in the Hadron and the Siyum. So the idea over here is to end off the Masechta with the word Shalom. There's nothing to do with the Gemara over here, but it ends off. We want to end off with Shalom. Why do we end off with Shalom? So first of all, we've said this before. We quoted the Chassam Sofer says. So what's the idea that that we say that if you Tamid Chamar Marvin Shalom, how are they Marvin Shalom Ba'olam? Is that really the case, or as somebody said, right? Do you need a pasuk for that? Or is it a Talmud's attempt at humor? But Tamid Chamar Shalom Ba'olam. Why? Because the various characteristics that people have, the tunas that a person have, the embarrassment and chutzpah and arrogance and fighting, the ability to fight. People are made with those various characteristics, and the question is, how do you use them? Somebody mentioned the other day that after all the protests that we saw here, hundreds of thousands of people out in the street. Can you imagine if that happened in various cities in America? Buildings would be burned down, there would be looting, there would be all kinds of stuff. But the fact is that basically nobody was hurt and no property was damaged. Those are the kind of peacefulness that we Jews have, even though we'll kill ourselves in an argument and scream at each other endlessly, but we're not going to hurt each other in general. So that's how the Chamar Marvin Shalom Ba'olam, by discussing the Torah, by fighting. Machlokas, is there hardly a daf without a machlokas between the various Tanam? That's why we use our ability to argue and our ability to fight, etc. We use that in discussing Torah to come out with the emes. But also, pardon, but also the concept is to finish with Shalom. He says here that he brings down, this is that part about the Talmid Chacham is, that's from the Chassam Sofer, that the Chacham fight in Torah so that there will be peace. They won't be killing each other physically or hurting each other. That's how they bring peace to the world. But in general, the Gadol Shalom. Gadol Shalom is the Sivrin Gadol Shalom Shechotz Chasmein Shal Kol Brachos Shalom. We know Hashem Yisa Hashem Panav Elecha V'Yasem Lecha Shalom Dracha Darchei Noam V'Chol Nisivasei Shalom. So it's always good to end up with Shalom. So that's how we end up this Masechta also with the concept. And even though he brings down the Bach adds it over here also, because the last word in the Masechta, the way we have it, is not Shalom, it's Rav Shalom Banoyach. But if you say Al Tikam Banoyach, and he goes on to say that brings down the plus of Manachai Breya, and he ends off with Hashem Yivorach and Shalom, so the Masechta really ends off with Shalom, which we should have. Yeah.
I remember where I heard this, but the question was asked, what is Altikri Banaya Ela Bonaya?
Right.
Builders.
Yeah.
Right. They said, no, it's from the root Bina, the Havin. So it's Rav Shalom Bonaya, it's like the parallel to the word Limudei Hashem.
Right. I remember there's
Have you heard that too?
No, I think you mentioned it once.
Maybe
but
7.5 years.
Yeah, maybe it could be. But what's the whole thing that we say that the whole what's I heard this one. He said this once that when Yitzchak Schmidman, the grandfather, not the ones that we know here, he was making an appeal, or he was saying that the great thing, the ones who love the Torah. What are the ones who love the Torah? The ones who donate money, right? We who learn Torah every day. I mean, I don't finish the daf every day, and I have more questions in my head than I started with. I'm trying to resolve that. It never gets resolved because we always have a michshel. We always have, this one said this, the Rosh said this, the Machlok is here, we read this wrong. Always mistakes are made. The ones who donate, they just donate to the good cause. They don't have to worry about that. They're not learning that. That's what he used. They don't have the michshol that we have. So you can interpret these psukim in different ways. Okay, so we'll say now the Hadron and we'll say the Kaddish after we get a minyan. Halach Masechtas Nizir Hadron Chalan. Datan Masechtas Nizir Datan Chalan. Lasashman Masechtas Datan Lasashman Lamam Rasi. Hadron Halach Masechtas Nizir. We return to you. Hadron Chalan. You return to us. Datan Masechtas Nizir Datan Chalan. Lasashman Masechtas Nizir Lasashman Lamam Rasi. Hadron Masechtas Nizir Hadron Chalan. Datan Masechtas Nizir Datan Chalan. Lasashman Masechtas Nizir Lasashman Lamam Rasi. You hear something from Hashem Elokeinu saying, you hear something from Elohim by saying Shetei Torah Secha Umanasena Ba Umazeh B'Tei Manu L'Olam Haba Chanina Ba Papa Ram Ba Papa Nachman Ba Papa Choy Ba Papa Abmar Ba Papa Rafim Ba Papa Rachush Ba Papa Surch Ba Papa Ado Ba Papa Daro Ba Papa Harav Not Ne'Elohim Esrei Torah Secha Befino Fezon Vayisrael Miyakulana Achnach Tzesam Vayisrael Konish Mechman Shmecha Lishma Me'evet Techmen Tzach Gilam He Liebing Surkechel Man Vayishman Elashkach Bikudach Kiberam Chayson Kippur Chatval Ne'Elohim Pekechal Amen. Celebrate. Modern Nachman, Modern Nachman, Nachman, Elohim, Bayabasenu. Shesantach Laken Yosh Mesmerish, Shesantach Laken Yosh Meikronas. Shan Mashkim, Mashkimim, Anmashkim with the Torah. Maybe we'd be Zocha to finish this Masech again in 7.5 years, right here. The Hey Mashkim, the Varmatalim, Anomel, the Hemel, Anomel, Makam Schar, the Hemel, and Makam Schar. Anurots, Mahimat, Anus, Chaim Abba, Emat, the Shachash Nema, Batal, him to the Shachas, Anshidim, Miriam, Maniach, Tachbach. Like we said, the Sfas said we should be zocha to run after Torah the way they run after their silliness. Here's something else. I don't know. Like Shem says, I turn inside myself to Sasa Kaintas rain. Lahaschum myself to Swarm Machem Simon Limod Lamed. Lishma Blasses becomes a Secha Be'ava. Uschuska Tzram Vamram Atim Chacham Yamali Lazari. Shlo Tamash Atar Bipi Zari. The Zerazari Ad Olam. Yiskaim Bibes Alchatan Chasach. Yishach D'Shmael HaKitzasi Yitzchak Kivir B'Yimecha Yosif L'Chashnos Chaim Archim Amina the Small Osher B'Chavod Adonai Ozla Ma'Yiten Naya Barech Samot Bashalom. Okay, so we'll start now Masechet Sota. What's the juxtaposition of Sota to Nazir, as we said? Right, the Gemara is going to say that. We'll have that soon, but we already mentioned it that a person roas as if you see a Sota B'Kulkula. Right? Like he was saying, this fellow Sruli Bornstein, that might sent me that 100 years ago they had prohibition in America, right? Why did they have prohibition? It was voted in by almost all the states because inebriation can lead to all kinds of bad stuff. So they had a reason for it. So even though they had exceptions for ritual reasons, you're allowed to, but there's a reason why they made it. In other words, today you would never think of prohibition because everybody likes to go crazy and get drunk. It's a different world that we live then than there is now. Says the Mishnah, let's first understand something. When we talk about a sota, We're talking about a suffix, a woman who is a possible adulteress. If she knows for sure, and we know for sure that she committed adultery, then there's no reason to drink the water, etc. Then they just have to get divorced. If there was Adam and Asra, you actually take her out and kill her. But together with if there's Adam and Asra on the adulterer as well as the adulteress, you take them out and kill them. All this is questions where questions always comes up when we're not sure. There's reason to believe, like there's Reglaim L'Davar. There's another connection between the end of Nazir and the beginning of Sota. There's Reglaim L'Davar. That things aren't the normal. She's hanging around with this guy. So Makalish, a person warns his wife. Lashon of Kina is from Lashon of the Chumash. There we see Lashon of that he warned her. In other words, he's jealous. He warned her. What is he has to warn her and say, stay away from this guy. So Makalish Torah blesses says Makalish Pishnayim. It only works if there's Adam who saw that. If he just says, I warned her, and then she went into, I saw her go into a secluded room, that's not enough to drink. You have to have two Adam who saw them, who heard the kinui, and if one aide saw them go into seclusion, again, he didn't see the act itself, but he saw them go into seclusion having yichud, or pi'atzmo, or he himself, according to Blazer, he himself could say, I saw them go into the room. Once they had kinui in front of two people, even one aide, or even the husband himself could say, I saw them go into a room. Then you start the procedure. If she admits that she committed adultery, fine, then he gets a divorce, etc. And she loses her ksuba, etc. We'll talk about all that. And she doesn't drink. The drinking is only when she doesn't admit to it, and you've already laid the ground by warning her in front of two people. Shua says, no, it only works, you only continue the process if you warned her in front of two people and two people saw them go into seclusion. He warned her, don't go into seclusion with this guy. Don't have steer with this man. I see you hanging around with him, talking to him too much. In front of two people saw him say that, heard him say that. And then two people saw them go into the room. Then you should take side. How does he do kinui? Don't speak with this man. The dibrimo. If she says, and we're going to talk about why he said, talk about kinui, this is not a case of kinui. He says, don't speak with that guy. And she spoke with him. Nothing's wrong. That's not a sota yet. She can stay with her husband and she can eat truma if he's a Kohen. There's no problem. He just said, don't speak with him. And all she did was speak with him. That's how we read the Mishnah. Tomorrow we'll talk about this. But once he warned her not to have steer with her, and she went into a seclusion with him. They were there long enough to have an immoral act. Once that's the case, she's now a confirmed sota, meaning that she is a suffix if she committed adultery. Why? Because he had two Adam who heard and saw him warn her, and two Adam who saw them go into the room, and they stayed there long enough in seclusion. Then you can't. Then she's a sota, meaning she cannot stay with her husband and she can't eat truma. We'll see. The pasuk says nitma. She's usher to her husband, usher to the boel. And also usher to, if the husband divorced her now, she can't marry the adulterer, and she's also truma mace. And if the husband dies before she drank, if there was no children, she would fall yibam. You can't do yibam there. You do chalitza and not yibam. All right, we'll pick it up here tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem, and discuss the days, Mitzvah Hashem. And we'll say now the hadra. We have a minyan now.
Mazel tov, Efraim. Mazel tov.